So I'm back. I guess that's my go-to phrase. I'm trying to make a couple more videos this week before I actually go on vacation with my wife and enjoy some downtime. We're looking forward to it. So I was trying to figure out what I want to talk about today, and it's I guess somewhat of a slow news day. Not too much is going on, and then I was like, I saw a video, and I'm going to play it for you right now.
That I was reminded of what J.D. Vance said last summer when he talked about the 7 million men who are out of the workforce. And we're talking about, mass deportations and all of these things. And I'm thinking, yeah, put Americans to work. If you're a young, able bodied person, if you can do a job, if you can volunteer, go out there and make yourself useful. It's not
Amen.
just for the good of the country, but it's for your own good. You're going to feel better if you're actually working and doing.
And it got me thinking, what is the psyche of these people? And what do they think about the average American, or what value do we have? And in this video you saw, this person, Libby Simmons, I make some comments that it lets you know what mindset these people have about people they see below them. And she's talking about able-bodied persons not working, finally getting, going to work. We have in ICE deportations, put these able-bodied persons to work. And looking at me, you wouldn't know that I have a torn labrum. I'm 45. I used to compete in weightlifting competitions. I enjoyed it. I played football. I wrestled, and then I played rugby for a little bit too. And I'm an accountant. I work as an accountant now. Am I an able-bodied person doing a job that brings? I'm trying to think of the word she used in the video, to the benefit of the country, or should I be out there in the fields too? Because I look like I'm able-bodied, and I don't want to exaggerate that as in my life is great. I have a torn labrum from an old injury, and the doctor said I'm too old for surgery. And it's fine overall. But the whole make yourself useful too. So what is useful? And obviously in this clip, to her being useful is going to go work these jobs of people who are being deported. And it's again, it comes back to they are determining what is useful for us. And it's very interesting how these people think, because especially on the right, how they've gotten to this whole, you know, puritanical work ethic that we're supposed to have. And I'm going to quote somebody and tell me if you think about who. I'll tell you who it is, but you think about what they're saying. It does sound very familiar. If a person is capable of working, he must work. Society should not encourage parasitism. That's from Vladimir Putin. That sounds something like you hear from these right wing talking heads. And in the video, you'll see Laura Trump, the president's daughter in law, hosting this, saying amen to what she was saying about how this work is not good, is not just good for the country, but for your own good. So are we in a society now where my work has to be good for the country to have meaning to these people? And that is, to me, the opposite of what America stands for. We're supposed to be able to pursue our happiness, go on to do things that make us happy. You know, if being an HVAC technician is something that makes you happy, I hope you do it. And I want you to do it. I want you to be free to make that decision. If you want to go to college and get a degree in journalism, I want you to get that degree. I want you to have that opportunity. Libby here has a master's, an MFA from Columbia, and a bachelor's from Sarah Lawrence. So obviously to her, that's where she got her worth, her value. She's doing something she likes, but she's determined, and the people on the right are determined, that you need to make yourself useful and go work these jobs. I don't see her lining up to work these jobs, because we don't necessarily need more writers at the post millennial, a far right journalism, journalism magazine, paper, whatever they call it now. So she's telling you to be useful and go work she specifically said, we're having deportations. These able-bodied persons should should go do those jobs. If those jobs are so important, and these are important jobs. These people who are doing these jobs, we owe them so much for making our lives easier. But if she feels these jobs are so important, why isn't she working them, but telling you to go work them, to go find your worth, to go find your value? That's how these people look at other people who aren't as fortunate as them. Because going to Sarah Lawrence is not cheap. Going to Columbia is not cheap. So she obviously had some fortune in her life to be able to go to this and pursue something she wanted. But she doesn't seem to want, and I say she, but I rephrase that to they, as in these right-wing people who are influencing the Republican Party are doing. They want you to go do these jobs while they get to enjoy a life they want to live. Again, I'll say it 1,000 times. If you enjoy doing some of these jobs, I am happy for you, and I want you to have every opportunity to do the jobs that make you happy. But I'm not going to tell you that you'll get your worth only through this type of hard work, only by serving the country for the good of the country. You'll never hear me say that. And it comes down to, I think they look down on people, because these people who are out of work, who aren't working these jobs, they mentioned the 7 million. I don't know where they got the number 7 million males are not, able-bodied males are not working. I don't know where they get that number. I've never seen any hard numbers where they get this, and it changes all the time. They're going to change that number. I think these people look down on the people who are using these programs, entitlement programs, and I've talked about them before in the past, so I don't want to keep going on them. But, and I'll put the thing back up. When people in Indiana, 72% of the people who are in Indiana are working, are on Medicaid. So these people, able-bodied adults, are working. People are working. So when they say there's 9 million, 7 million males not working, I don't know where they get this number. I just don't. It boggles my mind where they come up with these numbers. And I want us to be able to get to a point where I'm not concerned what other people are doing in their lives. I don't care what you do, and none of us should care what somebody else does, as long as they're not hurting somebody else. And I would rather, so, you get back to these programs, that we know these people despise a little bit. And I know I'm a little all over the place today on this one. I would rather a few people get into the system who probably don't deserve, and I use that in quotes, deserve it, because the people who do will get it, as opposed to the Republicans who seem to be, I want to get everybody off the system, so the few who don't deserve it don't get it. And I think that's the wrong mentality. I think having this mentality of you need to work to have worth in society is wrong. We don't know what other people are going through. We don't. You can't just look at somebody and be like, oh, that person's an able-bodied person. They should be doing XYZ job. And if they're not, they're just lazy. Some of these men that in this supposed number they came up with, they could be in college right now studying to be a doctor, studying to be a teacher, studying to be a research scientist. They could be studying to be an electrical engineer. They could be getting their associates to an HVAC. They have degrees, I think, in that, or their associates in nursing, because I know there's an associates for nursing. And some of those people, that's, especially when you get into even in the medical fields, that's not easy coursework. And I would rather somebody who wants to get into a field like that focus solely on getting that education to be useful once they have that degree, that certificate, to make them have to let them have the credentials they need to do to help do what they want to do. But I want them to want to do what they're doing. I will never support forcing people to go get to do something that they don't want to do unless they actually choose to go do it. And I find that, especially the president's daughter-in-law, who is a billionaire through marriage or whatever, is saying amen to this. Like, you have a silver spoon already. I don't know, what are you talking about? We all don't get to live like you. And I just think this mentality that they're putting out is not productive for our society, especially with the times we're going through right now. It's people need to worry about themselves and worry about what they're doing for themselves than to worry about what other people are doing and what other people are taking or not taking. It doesn't bother me that somebody's getting help when they need help. If somebody's out of work for a while, it's not my job to determine why. If they get on the government programs, the government has requirements for you to qualify for those programs. So if you get on the program, you qualified. You qualify for the program, and if you were working before, you've paid into these programs. So what is this obsession with this? It's almost like Animal Farm. I don't know if you've all read that book. I had to read it when I was in high school. They would rather us work ourselves to death. The horse, for the better of the country, for the good of the country, while these people like Libby sit there and dictate us what's good for us and what's not good for us. And I'll put her credentials up so you see that I'm not making this up. She has it's on her page for her post-millennial. She went to, I believe Columbia is Ivy League, I think. I'm not sure. But I know Sarah Lawrence is a private university, and I love education. So I'm not knocking that. I'm glad she got these degrees. I'm glad she was able to do that. But these are the same people who want to take some of these opportunities away from us, from you. Again, it's control. I think a lot of this is control on the right. They want to control and dictate what you and I do based on their view of the world and how it should go. I mentioned puritanical work ethic. That's a thing in America where we have this, we're not, it's a puritanical work ethic where you have to work hard. You have to be worthy what you're getting. If you're not worthy, you don't deserve it. And that's when people came to America, and we have that work ethic ingrained in us growing up, and it's part of our culture. And, right or wrong, that's part of what it is here in America, where we have that. You feel like, do I deserve to get this? I didn't put enough work into it. And I'm getting off tangent, so let me go back. Just think about how these people want to control every aspect of your life. And then remember the quote from George Carlin, it's a big club. We ain't in it. We are not the ones getting to determine what's happening to us. When you have people in control determining everything for us at this point, as in, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve this, you're worthy of praise because you do this job, you're not worthy of praise, you do this, you are. I just think about that, and think about when you see things like this, what are these people trying to communicate to you? Because it's a horrible mindset to have. What she was talking about is to have that mindset on your fellow Americans is just, it's not a good mindset to have. You don't know what's going on in other people's lives, and I'm not going to pretend I know what's going on in other people's lives. I have more important things to worry about, as in my life, doing good for my community, raising my kids the best I can to be, good citizens and things like that. So I'll leave you with that. Remember, you have a voice, use it.